Okay, I think we have the critical mass, so I would like to kick off. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this event, this session today. I'm super, super excited. We have been waiting. Many of us have been waiting for this to happen, and it's the day. So with that, quick intro, I'm Akanksha Mathur. I'm a board member of WCS and today's host. Um, and before I kick off, we'll do some logistics very quickly. I know since COVID, everyone has become a Zoom expert, but just gentle minor reminders. Please remember to unmute and mute yourself appropriately. We will have opportunity for Q&A with our guest speaker today. Share your video if you can. We love to see everyone's faces. Be present, be an active listener, and take away the insights, leaving all the judgments behind. For those who are new to WCS, so Women in Cleantech and Sustainability is a nonprofit org built by women, for women, and our allies in the industry. We are focused on furthering women's role in the green economy and clean tech industry. And in that for that matter, anyone who wants to be part of this global transformation mission. We are a community of over 700 members globally. And we have very active chapters in San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, UK, and Europe. And some of the guidelines, because when you want to stay focused on a mission, you need some rules, some guidelines to go by. Our key top objectives: gender parity. We want to be able to contribute the talent and the expertise we have to achieve the gender parity in the clean tech and sustainability leadership. Diverse network, as you see around the room right now, we have a very diverse network of women and allies from within and outside clean tech and sustainability industry, people coming from different background and enriching WCS culture. Local communities, our local chapters are our medium for us to be able to collaborate with local organizations who have the similar goal as we do. Thought leaders, we want to strengthen our identity as industry thought leader. And with that, as many of you probably have heard or attended events in past, in our industry, when we generally talk about climate change, it's often about data, charts, scientific reports. But today we wanted to do something different. We wanted to explore a different and deeply powerful medium of storytelling, which is music. I believe everyone once in a day, or maybe more like me all the time, have some music playing in the background, which keeps this positive energy going. Music has a unique ability to move people, as most of you would agree with me. It transcends the language, it stirs our emotions, and it inspires action. And if we can use this strong medium to spread awareness and tell people more about climate change, there's nothing like it. Just a personal example, recently, many of us are dialing in from SoCal, and we all unfortunately experienced wildfires recently. And a perfect example of music and art coming together, contributing and supporting the community was the Fire Aid concert. And if you don't know, the Fire Aid concerts where all the musicians and artists came together and raised around $100 million to support the people who were impacted. And that's the power of music. And that brings me to our incredible guest today, Kiran Gandhi, aka Madame Gandhi. A quick intro, because I have to. I have to do this. I've been waiting for this. I've been following Kiran since 2016. I saw her first time during South by Southwest. And I just started reading about her. And while her music has always been so inspiring, as you'll see shortly, what has recently resonated with me is how you're using your music to tell the stories and make it real for people. she's a powerhouse. Like I come from an Indian background. I know you either do studies or you do art, but we will get to know more how she was able to do everything. She started her career as a drummer for MIA, Tivri Corporation, and Kehlani. In 2015, she made global headlines when she ran the London Marathon while freely bleeding to challenge menstrual stigma. And that same year, she earned her MBA from Harvard. Um, and it's just been ongoing. It's no stopping, no looking back. You were named under Forbes 30 under 30 in music, included in BBC's 100 Women, and won South by Southwest Best Music Video Jury Award. And then recently, she pursued a master's in music, science, and technology at Stanford's CCRMA and traveled to Antarctica to record the sounds of melting glaciers. And that was the whole trigger of making today's happen. And with that, please join me welcoming Madame Gandhi, and I will pass the floor on to you, Kiran.
Thank you, sister. Hello, hello. Good morning. Hello, my friends. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for being on Zoom and showing your video. It's really cool to see all of you like in your cars and working. And like this is so female energy too. Like everyone's like a parent and working and driving and crushing, and somehow you're still on this Zoom call. So it means a lot. I know y'all are busy, and I'm just so touched and honored to be part of this highly capable, highly potent, highly intelligent, powerful community. So thank you, Akanksha. Hopefully now this is the beginning of many friendships to come. So my name is Kiran Gandhi. I perform as Madame Gandhi. I'm joining you in this moment from the Soho House in Miami because it's Miami Music Week and we're on tour. And I'm going to be speaking at the Women's Brunch in a little bit after our time together. And you know, for me, music has always been a rich opportunity for storytelling, just as Akanksha shared. And growing up in New York City, between New York City and Mumbai, India, you know, I grew up on the Spice Girls, and we had girl power, and we had like these, you know, for me, my heroes came from the music industry. My heroes came from singing and dancing and feeling really good in my body. And so I think I understood from a young age I wanted my life and my career to be in music, and I wanted to use my gifts as a drummer, as a producer, as a vocalist, as a lyricist, you know, to kind of imagine the world that we wish that we lived in. And absolutely, I am a feminist at heart. I am a 90s baby, undeniably. And I think since the pandemic, we're going to show you kind of my pre-pandemic work, which is the award that won Best Music Video at South by Southwest. So it's my joy to give you all a private premiere right here on this Zoom call in a moment. But that video was the sort of beginning of my eco-feminist journey. And because it got so much love and accolades, it just sort of was really affirming. But we shot this incredible music video in Mumbai, India, you know, right in 5 years ago in the pandemic, right before the pandemic. And it's really about how do we love the planet more, and how do we love women more? How do we love the girl child more, and how do we love the environment more? And it's a celebration rather than one of sorrow. And then post-pandemic, really my work started to become how do I sample the sounds of nature and really incorporate those sounds into the music itself. And so what if, you know, the music that I was making for you, the lyrics were not only thoughtful and intelligent and you know, thought-provoking, but the music itself, the electronics that you hear, the drums, were sourced from the sounds of a stream, the sounds of pebbles, the sounds of the wind, you know. So my work in the last 3 to 4 years has been micro sampling these glacier sounds that I recorded myself in the Arctic or in Antarctica, or the sounds of penguins and making a synthesizer out of it, and really scoring music that is natural, 100% organically sourced. So these are the sort of two tentpole moments of my career that we're going to be sharing with you humbly today. There's two different kind of visual components that underscore those, just to give you some feel for the work and for us to have kind of a shared reality to converse about. And then we're going to have a Q&A and dive into the larger group. So that's the work. That's what we're here to do. We're here to change the planet. We're here to drop people back into their heart space, so that, you know, people care about not using single-use plastics, and we're more thoughtful about how it is we travel. And I do think that the musicians are poised for that role, because we are the emotional conveyors. We take audio timestamps of emotion and get people caring, and then all the intelligent and highly powerful folks like you go put it into lobby and companies and all of that. So without further ado, this is the first music video we're going to show you. It's called Waiting for Me. It was the first time an all-female Indian crew won Best Music Video at South by.
That was amazing. I'll stop with that, but that was really incredible. Thanks for sharing.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Hell yeah. I love the chat. This is an engaged family. I appreciate it so much. And if there's any questions right off the bat about the film or any reactions, thank you. I love the positive energy. I'm so grateful. But yeah, if there's anyone who wants to come off mute and ask anything about the film, I'd love that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Absolutely loved like so many aspects of it. The music, the visuals of how you were kind of going from the grays with the pops of yellow to kind of more of like the fun colors and how you played with both of those. I guess I'm kind of curious how you pair the visuals with the audio to cause such kind of an empowering emotional tie to the video. Just thank you for being here, and this is incredibly inspiring.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for that. I think the simplest answer from the beginning is that I was one of those schoolgirls, both in New York City in the private school system and in Mumbai, India. And the funny thing is that from my parents' perspective, they giving their kids the best education and this and that, and we're grateful. And yes, we are smart. But the irony of the whole thing is that I just never wanted to wear those oppressive uniforms. I just wanted to play in nature, and I didn't want to have to dress the same every single day. And even as a kid in India, I was like, why are we doing this like British colonial remnant uniform in these grays when Indian color and fashion is the best in the entire world? And so for me personally, I think the reason why this film translates is because it's really made from love. It's really made from my heart. It's really about celebrating each of our power, our color, our radiance, and breaking free from the mold. And then with the actual music, ultimately, I am a drummer, and I think cutting music videos to the beat is really, really important to me to keep the story moving forward. Of course, we chose the right partners for the film. Misha is very well known in India for her work. And I just didn't want to tell too much of a Bollywood story. I wanted to tell my story of India, my experience living in Mumbai and having the best time, dancing in the rain during monsoon season and drumming and dancing to Bhangra music and listening to, chanting and things like that. So I so appreciate it. And one more thing I'll add is that in India, the gods and goddesses are based on nature. Like there's no separation. There's no like we are humans and over there is nature. It's just oneness, and it's awareness of how when we take care of the planet, then the food that we're eating is clean and nourishing because we've respected the land. It's an obvious circular tie, and any indigenous community will have a similar relationship to land, which is one of awareness, respect, care, because ultimately if we care for the land, then the land cares for us. So thank you for that response, and these were some of my intentions with the film.
Nakashri.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madame Gandhi. I want to say I've been a long fan of MIA, and I had no idea you're the drummer behind. So amazing to find that out. And I want to say, I was born and raised in India back. I'm the 90s baby, and I came here for my master's. And so my life is what you depicted on there.
Oh my God.
And what I want to say is that I miss that. Hey, I miss the colors, the vibrancy. I don't have any of that here. So bringing all of that to my daily here, I think that's something that I need to make a conscious effort. The fabrics you showed, the colors, even the feel of the straw and the sweetness of the sun and all of that. I feel like I live in California, but I still miss all that, that authentic organicness of life, and that, like, so thank you so much for bringing that. And so my question to you is, traversing these two lives, how do you keep your culture alive in your daily? I know your music does that, but in your day-to-day life, how do you do it?
I really appreciate that. I mean, in 2 weeks, I'm going back to India. So I quite literally, I make a very intentional effort. And I think getting my OCI, which allows me to go to India frequently, was really important to me. I had to work really hard to get it. But I think the day to day, I love listening to chanting. I love listening to mantras because these are ancient sounds from India that affirm positive values. And it reminds me in my own work, when I'm writing lyrics, can I literally write things back that the audience is going to sing back that affirms a positive value, just like a mantra, just like a chant. I have a very well-known song that, recently was on Never Have I Ever, which is Mindy Kaling's Netflix show. It was on the FIFA soundtrack for kids. For any of you all who have sons, I'm sure they play FIFA. But the song is Bad Habits, and it's like, all my bad habits have got to go. And that's the chorus. It's very simple, but it's a chant, it's a mantra. So that's definitely one way. Keeping in touch with Indian music is really, really important to me. Singing kirtan, dancing. We brought the New Year in last year in England, chanting kirtan and just getting in touch. So that was a big one. And yeah, I appreciate your reflection on the 90s and the color. And I think what came up for me when you mentioned that is pride. May we all just take pride in our roots and our authentic stories, because once one person goes first to take pride, then all of us are like, yeah, that was me too, because when I see other people take pride in what they do, I'm like, oh yeah, me too. So thank you.
Yeah, and Kiran, I just want to take 1 minute. I have two daughters, 14 and 11-year-old, and they love this intersection of Asian and I'd love to show them. They've listened to MIA, so listening to you and showing those, they love wearing Indian outfits. So I'd love to share your music with them.
Awesome. Definitely show them Top Knot Turn Up, which is literally about putting your hair up in a bun like a top knot and getting work done. So that's another feminist anthem that I think the girls tend to enjoy. All right, another question. Thank you.
Madhu.
Hi, Kiran. Thank you for showcasing your work to us. More of a comment than a question. I'm a musician myself, and I've experimented with this idea of combining my music with something related to environment in the last 2 years, and I've also released 2 of my originals in the last 2 years. And what I really appreciate is, there's so much hard work that goes behind the scene. We are only seeing the final product and it all looks very colorful and very nice, but I can only imagine the labor that would have gone to create something like this, that too with a message. So I just want to, give you a great kudos for this. It's doing something like this is, especially on the creative side, is not easy, just collaborating with artists. So hats off to you.
I really appreciate that. And if you ever have time, we did do a really beautiful behind the scenes of Waiting for Me. And it's really fun because even for me, I was overwhelmed, because in Bollywood, they don't play. They have like 50 chaiwalas and 13 guys doing the steaming of the uniforms. And, in India, productions are really big. And I wasn't expecting that. I was so humbled by how many people were involved. So definitely watch the behind the scenes. And what's possible in India is unparalleled, or in places with population, because when we all come together for one unified goal, we win. And that's what this call is about. Each of us are tackling sustainability and climate from different avenues with our skill sets, and a unified human vision, I'd like to think, always wins. And so I appreciate the props, and, anything that we do with our care and with our love and with our human attention will thrive, whether it's, parenting or our work or a creative. So just stay with it and give your love, and then the art is timeless. We can show this video for decades to come. Thank you.
Stephanie.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing your video. And just, I could, now that you've said just all these things, I feel like I need more questions, but what you had said earlier about the power of these words. And so obviously music really affects us in a way that we can't always explain it. It is tied right to our hearts, right to our emotion. But then you made me think, I've been really getting into the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, what we tell ourselves, what we put out into the universe. And so I would just love to know your thoughts about when you have music like this, when it's engaging in the beat and in other ways, but then the words behind it and the message behind it. What do you think the power of that is, or what do you think that does even just to our, yeah, I don't know, to our souls? There's something. I'd love to get your thoughts.
I mean, absolutely. And you've already, I shared your same perspective. And that's why I'm a musician. I believe in the magic of music. I believe in its rich potential. My parents have given me degrees for days. I'm still a humble musician. There's no abandoning it. So, what I will say is that I'll take you to the opposite. Let's think about all of the music on the airwaves today. They're using negative words to describe women. It's so normalized. It's cool. It's positioned as aspirational. Getting highly intoxicated is positioned as aspirational. Insulting women by using certain derogatory words, but it's supposed to be considered a reclamation. I mean, these are everyone's choices, but ultimately, I know that when I'm like in the boxing gym or I'm running or training and I'm lifting weights or whatever, I don't want to have to turn up to the sound of my own oppression. And what I mean by that is I don't want to have to listen to music where the beats are awesome and the music is cool and it's the newest production and whatever, but then the lyrics are quite misogynist. Why should we have to participate in that? And yet it's all over the airwaves. Our kids are listening to it. It's unbelievable, actually. And it's really hard to say anything because then it looks like, okay, that's too it's like you're holding back free speech and whatever. But I believe in a different way. I believe in beats that are nourishing for you, music that is thoughtful, conscious, actually productive and working for you, not against you. And so this is my small contribution as a musician. Can we use lyrics that affirm positive values rather than so much of the misogyny that is rampant throughout the airwaves today?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Sabrina.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that music video. It was quite inspirational and empowering. Also, just wanted to, I guess, draw on some of your work that you've done on menstrual equity, which has been amazing. Can you speak, I guess, to maybe your perspectives on the role that women could have or are having in not only like menstrual equity and social issues, but also, I guess, environmental sustainability?
Of course, absolutely. And I feel like you have an opinion on that, so I might kick the question back to you in a moment. So be ready for that because I all the smart women always ask questions that they already have their own perspective on. So we're here to learn from each other. I've done this enough times to know that. But I will say this, I think, when I ran the marathon, it's so interesting. I'll tell you the story briefly. I was in my second year of Harvard Business School. I arrived to the London Marathon start line. The first year of my HBS degree, I was touring, drumming for MIA, and I felt really cool and empowered. And the second year, I was not. And I really felt like I really want to build my sort of personal power up. So I was training for this marathon. Boston is a beautiful place to run. And I was really excited. So I arrived to the London start line, and I realized I'm about to be on day one of my period. And I think we do have all people who bleed on this call. But for anyone on this call who does not have a period, let me tell you, you're not trying to run 42 kilometers, okay, 26 miles on day one of your cycle. That's just not what you're trying to do. You're trying to rest, okay? So like many of us who have been caught unprepared on our periods on day one, I'm like trying to think, okay, what am I going to do, And these products, a tampon, a pad, a menstrual cup, like none of them seemed appropriate for running for that long. And when I was training, I would just rest. Like I wasn't using products for 5 hours of running, 4 hours of running. So I knew it was radical, but I was like, I'd rather free bleed this run and just see what happens and, not be too aggressive with my body. And also not have to like worry about this like societal norm when I have this bigger job to do. And I knew there was something magical in that thought. I knew it was radical. There was no other time in my life where I had ever quote unquote free bled, but I just did it and I went for it. And as I was running, I was like, women and people who bleed are amazing. We are every day running businesses and meetings and CEOs and parenting and partnering and all of these different things while bleeding. We're athletes, we're musicians, we're global leaders bleeding. And not only are we not celebrating that, we're told to hide it away in shame and pretend like it's not happening. Like this is the highest form of oppression, if you ask me. And so when I crossed the finish line, I was like, what a backward society. Like, we are amazing. I just ran a marathon bleeding. Like, let's talk to anyone bleeding from anywhere running 26 miles, and then we can have a conversation. And I think because I felt so empowered by it, I wrote the story. And I think the magic and the power of the story, you know, it ended up being one of these very big viral moments. And to this day, so much has changed for the better in the menstrual space just by destigmatizing the conversation. And so I think a similar approach is necessary when it comes to sustainability, to your question, Sabrina, which is bravery, because these conversations around climate and sustainability are still shrouded in so much ignorance and so much lack of intelligence. And I do think that basic awareness of connectedness to the planet, designing products that are sustainable, that are reusable, that have design choices that actually allow for us to have healthy habits and not feel bad. Even to this day, if I'm traveling and I have to order food to my room, it's like I'm like having to think like, okay, what's a better way for me to feed myself? But I don't want to have like a big bag of plastic delivered to my room with like 4 containers, and it puts me in a situation that I don't want to be in. So can we build products for customers and consumers that allow for healthier habits and positive habits, just like I'm trying to build in my music? So that's my sort of high level thought on that. And Sabrina, if you have a comment, it's your moment.
Thanks for that. I completely agree. I think women have, you know, often a different perspective or different set of skills, and we can really change the world with that. And we have already changed the world. And I think it's key to have our participation. And I'm biased, but I think everything, but especially like environmental sustainability is huge. Like the way that our world is going with climate change, we need to have more voices and perspectives. But I also have a very dear place in my heart for menstrual equity. So thank you so much for everything that you've done in that space.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's awesome. I actually just performed in a museum in Berlin because they had the first ever menstrual history exhibition in the whole world. And it was really cool. I performed at it. We had this big old menstruation party in a museum. Life is cool. Life is so interesting, you know. So I'm glad we're all doing this work. Thank you.
Alison.
Hello. You touched earlier. I know everybody's thanking you. It's been incredible. So, I mean, it's just so cool to meet you, and hear your stories. And I don't want to put a downer on it, so I'm going to reframe this question to try to make it as positive as possible. You'd mentioned the word misogyny, and I do a lot of personal work around those concepts, and tackling diversity, equity, inclusion. Frameworks and the lot. And we've kind of seen, I'm kind of curious to know what you've seen on your side. I think that we've all probably seen a bit of a shift, at least kind of macroeconomically, and how we're perceived. And the word misogyny is kind of taking on some new forms. And I'm wondering, have you seen that in the music industry or in, some of your other engagements? And how are you tackling that? Are you tackling it directly? Are you really seeing it? I'm just keen to get your point of view on that.
I mean, it's so interesting because I think my personal process, and I will be vulnerable and open on this call, my personal process has been so my first 5 years of my career were a lot more like feminist and like future is female and like very like my hair was platinum and I'm a drummer and like we're women's marching, and like it was a lot of the kind of immediate reaction to political. And then when the pandemic happened and I began sort of my own inward spiritual journey, my perspective shifted to kind of say like our world is run by these men, little rascals who didn't get whatever love they were supposed to get when they were children. And like it's just so funny. And I'm like, when I have kids and if I have a son, like may I do the God's work of like loving this boy as to the best of my fucking ability, because somewhere along the way, like these men are upset and broken and tantruming, and it's affecting all of us negatively. So I know that's not like a perspective that I can fully go out in the open and say, in the sense that, because we're still dealing with the repercussions of these tantrums, and they're very serious repercussions. So I am being a bit tongue in cheek, but I do have this kind of larger philosophical perspective that always just comes back to the power of us as women, to the power of feminine energy, to the fact that feminine energy is so quieted and underutilized, to the extent that I feel deeply powerful even when I'm in spaces that are largely a masculine environment, I tend to soften and not find my desire to like fight and break the ice. I'm just kind of like, wow, like there's so much ignorance in this conversation. There's so much ignorance in the room. It's very difficult for me to find my voice. But I think what gives me hope and inspiration is that then when I see the power of feminine intelligence, which is emotional intelligence, peacekeeping, the ability to have empathy first and foremost, to lead from my queen energy rather than from my little girl who's wounded as well. I end up kind of coming with something fresher and a different perspective. So it's like I'm in the journey of both. I'm calling out the misogyny, you know, like true feminist style, but then I'm also like, do we need to just give these men like hugs and kisses? Like, is that what's missing? Like, I'm so confused. It's just so funny. So I don't know if that's a popular perspective, but that's where currently I am in my journey. Is like I act like, can we just double down on love then? Like, maybe that's the answer. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Teresa, I see your hand up.
Yes, I could ask a billion questions. I'm wondering, it's coming across very clearly to me how authentic kind of your voice and your art and your messaging is. And I guess I'm curious if you've struggled to kind of get to that point where it's very authentic. And then also, like, have you gotten any pushback sharing such kind of authenticity and it's vulnerable? And how have you worked with it or around it?
Yeah, I think when there's distance from me and the pushback, then it's okay because it's not like it's my immediate circle. And what you'll find that's really interesting, because I feel like all of us in some way or the other are working in activist communities, you know, and I was having this conversation with my dear friend Ebony Smith. She's the head of the Grammy, producer wing. She's doing a million things for women producers behind the scenes. And she and I were talking about how it's the most painful, not when we get the obvious sexism and pushback from the mainstream. It's actually the most painful when you get pushback and criticism from your peers. Ebony is in deep service of wanting to make sure that there's more equitable cuts and fairness to women songwriters and producers in the industry. Only 2% of the world's music is written by women. It's unbelievable. If you open any of your favorite songs and look at the Spotify credits, you'll see a lot of Bill and Joe, and we're so grateful for them, but also we have to tell our own stories. So it's very interesting. I think when we criticize each other, it's more painful, but I also try to take it more seriously. So I think that's one integration process. I think the next is the obvious answer, which is a very tender and strong support system. I have an incredible partner. I just spent 4 or 5 days with my mother. She's such an incredible support system. I was performing and they had spelled my name wrong on the marquee. Leave it to my mom to go and tell them, you've spelled my daughter's name wrong, fix. So these are tender but simple examples of how we can check for each other and be there for each other. That helps me a lot. Positive affirmation, morning meditation. Of course, the stronger the self-love, the easier it is to take on criticism. And then when I do see criticism like online or comments or whatever, I basically bucket it into 2 categories. Like one is like, I don't agree with that intellectually, and it's a projection, so I can remove myself from that. And then if I agree with it, that's usually when it's more painful because it's like, oof, you didn't say it in a nice way. You're not wrong. You could have been nice. You could have DM'd me directly and I could have had an educational moment and made a change, but you've gone in this other mean bullying direction. Okay, that's your choice, but I can still take the content and integrate it. So I try to not be reactionary. I try to be aware. I try to be like, no, this is ignorant. I don't agree, or this is highly intelligent, and let me sharpen my messaging.
That's amazing. I'm just having my heart full with all the conversation and the energy we have flowing. And that was the sole, I would say, goal of today. And with that, Kiran, do you think it's a good time to pop up your video in Antarctica? Okay.
You're such a good moderator. You're keeping us on task. Thank you. Because the women, we hang and we love to chat. What's the issue? So I thank you for keeping us focused.
No, of course. Like, I just want to make sure we get to cover what we really want to share with everyone who joined the call. And with that, here I go.
Just arrived to Antarctica. It's like completely fresh and like divinely blue. My name is Kiran Gandhi. I perform as Madame Gandhi. I am a drummer, a musician, a producer, a speaker. I had the opportunity to go out to Antarctica with an incredible group of musicians, activists, creators, entrepreneurs, tech leaders, and really record the sound of climate action, the sound of climate change, the sound of glaciers melting. And really the idea coming back with all of these nature sounds is, as a musician, can I use my gift, my talent, my passion to create empathy and awareness around climate change? And can it inspire climate action? And the more we fall in love with our planet, the more it is that we feel motivated to do something. And so this pack has a lot of heart, it has a lot of creativity, it has a lot of love. And the idea is hopefully that folks all around the world, the top producers, are making their organic beats sampling the sound of climate change. Right now, this is day 2 of the expedition, and I'm recording some of the sound of air releasing from the icebergs, which just sounds beautiful. It sounds like crackling, it sounds fresh, it sounds alive. My favorite sound to record was absolutely the sounds of glaciers melting underwater. I would listen and I'd be like, wow, life is amazing, water is amazing, the planet is amazing, and yet that very sound is the sound of the planet melting. So it's actually quite a tragic sound. And so I thought that interaction in that moment was quite profound, and we captured a lot of that in the pack. So these are the first penguins we've seen. We're asked to keep a safe distance so that we don't disrupt their flow, but they're insanely peaceful and cute. It was a joy to spend time with Gen 2 penguins who live all across the continent of Antarctica. They sing, they are noisy, they're rowdy, they're friendly, they're loving, they're hilarious. They have real personas and characteristics. And of course, they are in danger. The less land there is for them to actually physically live and nest and exist, the less they're able to survive. And so again, when we listen to that community of penguins, when you listen to the pack, you're sort of immediately teleported into this gorgeous Antarctic soundscape. We are literally using organic field recordings to make electronic music that motivates you, allows you to empathize, and drops you into the soundscape. The idea and hope for me is that in the same way you might be searching for your hi-hats, your kicks, your snare drums, or a bass tone, a synthesizer, a riser, you're coming to our pack and literally using a riser that was made out of a penguin squawking, or you're using our bass tones that, again, might sound just as good as something that was produced from a synthesizer, but it's literally produced from the sounds of glaciers melting. And it integrates really nicely. The average user wouldn't necessarily know that the music has come from nature, but the idea is that there's a feeling, there's an intuition, there's a depth, there's a higher quality of the actual instruments themselves. So my intention is, if we can hear what it is when life is vibrant and thriving and living, do we feel just a little bit more motivated to protect and to change our behaviors? And the more the users know and the listeners know, hopefully the more they feel motivated to also participate in climate action. Yeah.
This is Democracy Now, democracynow.org.
Sorry. So thank you for sharing that. So this project, as you know, was the sort of beginning of my journey, and my first week at Stanford doing this really special master's in music science and technology. They literally taught us how to build our own underwater microphones. And the first assignment was to go out to Monterey Bay and record the sounds of whales singing underwater. And it was so profound. I was like, I can't believe this is my schooling education. Like, this is unbelievable. I was so just blown away. And it was the pandemic still, so there wasn't much touring. Most of the classes were hybrid, but nature, we were allowed to go out and be. And so that really touched me and really spoke to me. And I started to learn and study this process of microsampling the rich tones in these nature field recordings. And so that's what inspired the trip to Antarctica, literally recording the sound of the planet melting and these really beautiful, deep, rich tones. And in that particular film, what you see is we're collecting all of these different pieces of music to actually make beats out of them, but also to outsource all of the individual pieces so that other musicians can make their own beat. So when I say a pack, we gave about 200 or 300 individual small sounds like ra, or like a squawk, or a tone, like a bass tone made from the wind, or the Antarctic wind, so that other producers could literally go and make modern music, but using 100% organically sourced sounds from nature. And I've not invented this process, but I've definitely leaned in, and it's quite bespoke. There's a small but tight community of people kind of exploring what does it mean to use nature sounds in the music. And so that was the first iteration. Then I partnered with Brian Eno's organization called Earth%, which is really interesting. And I'm sure many of you all in your world are seeing this, where thank you for the comment about open sourcing the sound. Absolutely. Not everyone gets to go to Antarctica, so we had to preserve it correctly. But many of you must be seeing now the idea of founders wanting to put nature on their board seat, or giving some kind of voice to the planet, or to any stakeholder in their business who's directly impacted by their business. And so I would say the music industry is one of the biggest negative culprits. We're hugely wasteful. Obviously, Spotify and the servers they're hugely labor intensive. So Earth% kind of wanted to use tech to sort of solve and intervene in a problem that tech caused. And so last year, they launched this program with Spotify called Nature as an Artist. And so to this day, you can go to Spotify, and Nature is literally an artist. And all of us, me, Ellie Goulding, Bomba Estéreo, like some top artists, have basically used nature sounds in their music, but credited nature as an artist, so that just by listening to the music, you're redirecting streaming royalties back to the planet. So it's this really beautiful closed loop where I made the mic myself, recorded the sounds in Antarctica. We've outsourced the individual sounds for anyone to make any music they want. And then the music that I've made from it, we feature nature as an artist, so that if tomorrow you go and listen on Spotify, 50% of the streaming royalties are going back to various conservation efforts. In my case, we have a couple thousand. It's a gesture, but I think for the bigger, for the Lady Gagas of the world, who they're trying to get involved, it's quite meaningful to redirect some of these larger streaming royalties back to conservation. So that's sort of the project that I'm in right now. Akanksha, maybe when we're doing a Q&A, you can pull up the final song that we did, which is called In Purpose, featuring nature. And towards the end, when we finish the Zoom, we can show you. And then another piece will come out for Earth Day, also featuring nature, called Let Me Be Water. So this is my current work. It's like, what if not only the lyrics were good for you, but the music is organically sourced, the streaming royalties go back to the planet just by the audience participating, and then the content of the music brings you back to nature. You fall in love with the planet again. So this is my thesis that I'm presenting to you, and thank you.
Nagashri, you had a question.
Yeah, I have a more serious question, Madam Gandhi, for you. I watched Meera Nair, Gurbinder Chadha, and Deepa Mehta talk about financing, brown women. And so I want to know, that's more serious topic, is who is funding you? How are you finding it? What is the difficulty in finding financing for projects like yours?
I really appreciate that. And I think this is where I could actually do a lot better. I think sometimes I let a lot of things go because I'm not able to find the funding. So I appreciate sort of the opportunity to be vulnerable with that. For Antarctica, it was quite cool. I had some savings. I had been giving a lot of public speaking opportunities, and perhaps the DEI budgets were bigger before the Trump election. So I was able to fund more things. But all jokes aside, I think, there's some days when I am able to fund bigger projects. There's other days where there's a partner involved. I've been doing a lot of interesting projects with Lululemon, of all brands, because they really do want to position themselves as a lot more mindful company. I think some of my friends are like, why are you involved with these companies? Like, they're the worst of the worst. And I'm like, you're not wrong, but it seems like they are making good faith efforts. People like to complain about greenwashing. Like, there's so much of that. I think it's kind of like I trust my own intuition to see what's what. And when there's an authentic partnership, I lean in. And when it's no longer authentic, I lean out. But I share that to say, the more I can partner with the brands to fund some of these more meaningful creative projects, that's the best case scenario. But it's definitely not easy. I definitely don't have a very clever way of doing it just yet. And if you have any thoughts on that, I welcome them.
That's amazing. And I think with that, I'm not going to let the opportunity go for me to ask some questions that I had on my list. I think the very first one, and I hope like it kind of goes with the flow that we are all in right now, is, and again, like coming from the Indian background where, well, fortunately, my parents were like, no, studies, like you have to be on the top, you have to, and all that. So I'm just so impressed. And same thing, like I have two young kids who are listening to you right now from the kitchen. And I just want to understand, how were you able to manage, academics and at the same time continue your passion? Because not everyone is able to do that, right? Like sometimes you're told, oh, you pick one at one phase of your life, and then if you are successful enough, you decide if you can follow your hobby or your passion. So I would love to know how that phase, how did you manage that phase?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for this. I mean, of course, I had two fairly traditional Indian parents. Of course, academics were number one. I was the eldest, so there's no choice around it. To this day, I deeply value my intelligence and my brain and my schooling, because I do think there's so many elements of my education that have sharpened my mind, that have kept me, lean when it comes to being creative with my business, working with people, writing lyrics that are thoughtful, thinking about creative entrepreneurship in a new and fresh way. So in that way, I'm very grateful for my education. And then I think when you ask me, the honest answer that comes to mind is just that it was so undeniable. Like, I was the worst employee. I was always late for class. I was always so bored. I always felt like, God, like procrastinating the assignments, because I just didn't enjoy having to deliver assignments, even though I could do it. I was really good at math, I think, because math felt straightforward, but also probably that was like my South Asian, flex or something. But I just liked how like disciplined it was, and how you unlock a final answer. I think my claim to fame was on the multivariable calculus exam that I had in college. I got a 99, and I would have gotten 100. I just had forgotten the negative sign. To this day, 20 years later, it's deeply upsetting. But I think these are the things. Like, I enjoyed my academics, but I didn't enjoy always the context. I didn't really have deep community in academic context. I always had deep community in creative. I felt really embraced by creative people, and I actually felt quite bullied and excluded by fellow peers, in university. Like, I never had like a clique that I was part of, and didn't feel fully like accepted, understood, these kinds of things. So then it's a two-way street. If I'm over time not accepted, and then the music communities are lighting me up and I feel like my best self, it just, over time, it was undeniable. And I always check in, when budgets are difficult, or when I'm like, just running all over the place, and like I don't have a guaranteed thing of what's happening tomorrow. I'm always checking in with myself. I'm like, you have degrees for days, just go get a fucking job and it's going to be fine. Of course I have these conversations, but then I'm like, there's just, for 10 years I've been doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. Like, it's just the isness of what is. And I feel grateful that I landed on that early in my life. I was still very young, and I'm still here. So I think this is the answer. It's a little bit of like undeniable, and then also proactively nourishing and checking in with my career.
And that totally makes sense. And I think that's something that even a lot of us are not like in the middle of our careers, but I feel like there's a lot of learning in what you said, that we are starting second phase of our powerful, I would say, opportunity where we can leave an impact. So there's a lot of learning that we can take with us. My next question would be, throughout your journey, in your personal or professional life, like, who have been those role models or female leaders that have impacted you to do what you do?
I love that. In 2020, right before the pandemic, I got this incredible opportunity to open for Oprah Winfrey Stadium tour. So this is 2020. It was February. We were traveling all over America, 15,000 person venues. I was part of this big group called Daybreaker, where we were just opening the party and throwing a big dance party at 9 a.m. as like the audience members were coming in to then greet Oprah when she comes on the stage at 10 a.m. And I had this like famous video of like Oprah like greeting us all backstage, and like for whatever reason I like opened my arms. I've never even met her, and she just landed and just gave me the fucking best hug. And I think there was like this nice moment which I'll never forget. But what I learned from Oprah is that she has team members for days, but she's fully online. She is fully online. She is saying hello. She's eye contact. She's aware. She's the boss. She's graceful. She's saying hello to the construction workers who are building and breaking down the stage. She printed sweatshirts for all of us and each member of the team on the last night of the tour. And to this day, I have that sweatshirt because it was a memorable opportunity. So these are like unnecessary things. Like most people in the music industry are not doing that. In fact, they're underpaying us. They're expecting that the clout of having been on that tour is the value. They're definitely not printing extra merch to say you're part of the team and forever I thank you. And you know, maybe Oprah has the budget to do that, but it's not about the money. It's the being online. It's the desire to go above and beyond. I have friends who are entrepreneurs who are like, I need a manager, I need an assistant, I need a this, I need a that. And I'm like, no problem. But when you build the team, you have to be more involved, not less involved. Like I understand what people are saying, which is delegating, of course. But it's not so that then you can go and kick your legs up. It's so that you actually can do more business and actually attract a higher capacity because now you have more staff. So I think that was just probably the biggest inspiration when you came to mind, because as I grow my own business and do more things, it's not about like, oh, I just want to chill and I want someone to do it all for me, which is what all the musicians say. Like, I wish someone did the admin. It's like, no problem, but it's good for you to know what you're making. Like, you don't have to do the, like, an intern can do the Excel, but like, you have to manage it. You have to be aware. And so I was really, really touched by seeing one of the wealthiest women in media, humble and involved.
Thank you so much, Kiran. I really, that's great to know. And you know, we all have role models in our lives that we look forward to. One last question, and I think that we are almost at the time at wrap up. So most of us who are on the call right now, we are already actively following the passion and trying to do something either through our careers or through volunteering towards the climate. The work that you have been doing based on your experience, like what is that one simple step that you think you would share with all of us that we can include or imbibe in our day-to-day lives to connect more with nature and do more towards it?
That's great. I mean, before you mentioned the connect with nature part, when you said just what we can do, I was thinking more of you as bosses in each of your industries, which is own your voice. Like, own your voice. Don't be afraid, because you know, there's so many times when even when I was at business school, I felt quite quieted in just like group like homework assignments, and I felt intimidated. And I know the power of bravery and the power of speaking up is difficult, but when we do, literally you can change the world. So my first thought is like, keep speaking and keep telling your story with gentleness and with humility and bravery, because you in these influential environments and your mind, it's what we need. And we're lucky each of you are in these positions of influence. And then in terms of nature, you know, even yesterday I went on an incredible trail run, and it was just an hour of my time. And I like felt immediately just so much better. And I had a cold shower, and like I came back online, not to overuse that phrase, but I just felt like, oh, right. Like, my feet are on the soil. The quality of the air is excellent. There's no humans around. Like, there's no phones involved. The trees are stunning. The river is stunning. It gave me bigger picture mentality. And there are days when I'm just too on my email and everyone is so irritating. And it's like, this is just, you know, like this iPhone is sucking my my human magic. So I think being in nature is revitalizing, it's re-energizing, it's big picture mentality. The mountains don't care about our email. It's such a breath of fresh air. And then we're replenished to come back and do this work that is required of us. So own your voice and spend time in nature.
Thank you so much for that, Kiran. I know we are at 10, but I think we started a couple minutes late. If everyone is okay who can stay, we'll take last few minutes to wrap up. And I just really from my heart want to thank you, Kiran, for joining us. Thank everyone who joined, and I hope you got a lot of that positive energy that got in. We are surrounded by so much frustration and negativity when it comes to climate or even just gender equality these days. So that was our shared goal to add some positive vibes. And to add to that, I would just quickly like to share. I know some of the WCS members who are on call have probably are aware of this, but April is gonna be a week full of climate weeks. So we are all gonna be participating based on where we are. 10 days from now, close to that, we have LA Climate Week coming up. So WCS is organizing a networking hike on April 6th. Followed by an e-waste management workshop and collections drive on April 7th. Then we have an AI workshop series, which is a virtual session. A lot of us are trying to learn about AI and how to use the power in our missions. So it's a great session if you're interested. Last week of April, we have SF Climate Week. So again, our traditional networking hike, followed by Women's Climate Innovation Workshop, and our annual flagship event, pitch competition. So if anyone is interested, go ahead and check out our website, check us out on the social media, connect with us, share your talent, share your experiences, and that's all that we are about. And with that, once again, like I'm just so thankful we made this happen. I've been trying to make this happen for quite some time, and Kiran, thank you for giving us your time, sharing your experiences, and I'm pretty sure each of us, you have touched each of our hearts today, and you have a whole new engineers and business leader women following you and your music in coming days. Anything you wanted to add, Kiran, as your closing notes?
No. I just, if there's any last questions or thoughts, feel free to put it in the chat, or my email is madamegandhi@gmail.com. Easy to reach out, Instagram and all of that. This was so wonderful. I'm really grateful. Akanksha, thank you for your leadership as well in putting this together.
Thank you. And I wanted to add, the quickest is any sustainability organizations or other related music that has been in your mind that you are sharing with other friends. We would of course love to know about it. So thank you again. It was incredible. And like as soon as Akanksha shared, we've been very excited to have you. So thank you.
No, that means a lot, Amy. Thank you. Yes, I saw that question in the chat. I appreciate you flagging that. I think there are two. I think the first is what you already shared in the chat, Earth Percent, because as a musician, they are the leading climate organization in music specifically. And then the second one would be A Greener Festival. I got to present the awards a month ago in London at the A Greener Festival Awards, which really Europe is leading the charts when it comes to sustainability and music, truly, because Americans are still partying with a lot of plastic. That's the real truth of it. There's not too much change being made. And in Europe, I see a lot of awareness around, plant-based meals at the festivals and like reusable cutlery that people literally wash and they use drink meal tickets, for the 3 days. They're camping. There's just, the conversation is so much more elevated when I spend time there. I'm like blown away. And it just shows us what's possible, that if we decided we wanted to prioritize this, we could. So a greener festival, AGF. These are two, because I'm in the music industry, so these are my two in the music industry specifically. They're focusing on encouraging sustainable practices within the live event space, which is just so cool to me because so much waste happens at these 5,000 and 10,000 person events, and then Earth Percent.
I've been at some of those many years ago. I photographed at Coachella because a dear friend was working for the speaker system for the entire festival, and so I'm curious if she knows about the festival you just mentioned. I bet she does. And so I hope to be there when you're performing sometime and connect you with her. That'd be amazing.
That's amazing. Yes, please. Madame Gandhi at Gmail. I can also just put it in the chat. Usually people spell my last name wrong, but it's Gandhi, like the famous Gandhi.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, everyone puts Ghandi, but here it is. And please do be in touch. Let's have this conversation. Keep going.
With that, I'm like, I guess it's the best way to kick off the weekend. And I saw all the positive and very exciting comments on the call. Kiran, thank you again so much for joining. We'll be sharing the recording with all the attendees, and it will be posted on YouTube in some time. And have a great, blissful weekend and time ahead. And thank you for joining today.